Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a big update regarding some of these erroneous polls. And we got the report a few weeks ago from CNN's top liberal polling expert, David Axelrod, who said that the polls are not as good as the Democrats are making it out to be. And now we've got Politico coming out and admitting that there is a warning from the top Dem pollsters. Don't get overconfident. We've seen polls, Canadian polls coming out. It's all propaganda. It's all hype for Harris. And now you've got internal liberal people saying, listen, we're starting to with how ridiculous these polls are, we're giving people way too much confidence. It's not looking very good, especially compared to 2016 and 2020. And they're like, I mean, how could it be looking good? Trump is putting together a legit super team, an American super team, and you've got Harris. I mean, it's like look at the report that's came out about RFK possibly getting other Democrats. It's everyone, all Americans coming together to defeat this communist socialist regime that is supposedly headed by Kamala Harris. Democratic pollsters have a warning about Kamala Harris's lead. You can see summarizing the article, there are plenty of warning signs hidden in the data. Quote, it's still a very tough place. They did a poll apparently during the convention, and it showed Harris and Trump essentially tied across the swing states, and the candidate characteristics that are best correlated with voter preferences, whether a candidate is up for the job, has the right vision, and a strong leader generally favor Trump in the survey. And that's exactly what we've seen. So this internal Democrat poll is absolutely right. What we're seeing is a difference between just the overall polls, with Harris being up by 3, 4, 5 in some of them, and like who's better for the economy, who's better with immigration. Trump wins all of those categories, yet he somehow loses a lot of these polls. It makes no sense. And you can see they're also warning about another massive polling error. We've seen it in 2016 and 2020. It's generally accepted by pollsters that Trump will overperform whatever the polls end up saying, because we got Trump, especially against Hillary in the swing states, and then Biden, just in terms of the general election, performing way better than what the numbers said. The Dems try and cope and use 2022. Well, no, 2022, they had the just general generic ballot. Republicans plus 2.8. Republicans won it by 2.3. I mean, that's, maybe you can say state by state there were some problems, but it wasn't this erroneous polling error. And that's comparing midterms to a general election. Let's talk the last two general elections. You're going to sit there and tell me that these polls are going to be accurate, especially what we've seen from Harris, which is basically nothing. These are the top Dem pollsters admitting this is all crap. I mean, we did a poll and the numbers favor Trump. It's all, and why would they not? She hasn't even announced any policy outside of communist agendas, and then she copied Trump on the no tax on tips, and you just blatantly copied him and said it during a rally in Nevada. And then you've got her copying Vance with the child tax credit policy as well. So this is ridiculous. Polls underestimated Trump in both 2020 and 2016. Back in 2021, when the Democratic pollsters announced their joint effort, they had hoped the former president's hard-to-measure appeal would be negated if he wasn't on the ballot in 2024. So it's like they're admitting they still don't have an answer for how to poll Trump properly, and they're probably going to under-poll him again. I mean, this is an internal poll, so they're trying to get it right. They're trying to get legit data, but they're even saying that we wanted him to just not be on the ballot in 2024 because the people are so hard to poll that support him, especially states like Wisconsin, the rural areas. You're not going to be able to get those people and pull them out. It's all the big cities. They're the ones that answer the phone calls. It's all the young people. They're all liberal. And so a lot of these polls are very erroneous. And especially when it comes to who wants to answer polls right now, especially the last few weeks, the just overall vibe of it is going to be Harris, because she just got it and she's all over the media everywhere. Of course, no, wait. She's not over it. They're just plastering her. Physically, she's not doing anything. Right? She just does a rally where she'll say 3 words and then they'll clap for 25 seconds. It's just like, she did her DNC speech. Everyone's like, okay, it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour. It's 30 minutes, and she spends the first 15 minutes talking about her childhood. And Waltz can barely make it through 10 minutes. That's how bad it is. It's like, seriously, on one side, we've got a super team. We've got the Ohio State Buckeyes. On the other side, we've got like we've got like Tim Waltz's football team. And, who do you think would win? So this is not a hard decision. And even the pollsters now, I know a lot of Republicans are getting really angry with these polls because there's been some not great ones for Trump recently. Although, if you look at the numbers, they're still way better than 2016 and 2020. But again, it's just like the way these elections work. the United States will not elect someone as liberal as Harris. And everything that she said, she's going to have to go back on everything. Trump's going to call her out. I mean, she's done a 180 on so many different things when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to fracking, when it comes to just her standard view of everything, to where she's trying to be more in the middle now because it's a national election and she's trying to appeal to everyone. And she can't say that. She can't say that, oh, I have to change because of where we're at now, and I'm not running in the state of California. I'm running in for the country. She can't say those exact words, but that's exactly why she's doing it. It shows that she changes on a limb. She doesn't actually believe in anything. She just wants to win. And so it's important that people understand that. So when it comes to these polls, it does not surprise me at all that the Democrats are warning everyone and saying the numbers we're getting, they are not necessarily correct. There's a big polling error again, and they're saying that they still have not corrected the Trump polling error from when they underestimated him in basically every swing state in 2020 and 2016. And you also add to the fact now that the electoral map favors Republicans more, even with the Democrats taking Georgia in 2020, because that's still a pure swing state. The difference between 2020 and 2024 is Florida is a pure Republican state, and so is Ohio. So those are not swing states anymore. Iowa also was another one that's not a swing state that they thought they could win back in 2016 and maybe even 2020. Well, actually, they did. I mean, I remember polls out of Iowa that had Biden up in 2020, or at least it was tied. So all of these things are happening, and this really should not surprise anyone when it comes to Politico admitting this, when it comes to top Democratic pollsters admitting it. Quote, officials with the pro-Harris super PAC said their polling is much less rosy than public surveys. That's internal polling. That doesn't really surprise anyone. And then you also have Frank Luntz, the polling expert, coming out and saying that the media would have treated the endorsement by RFK Jr. to Donald Trump very differently if it had been for Kamala Harris, and he would have been hailed a hero. And we all know that's true. They didn't even cover it during RFK's speech, which was viewed millions of times by people. He talked for 2 minutes, and then CNN, their dumb anchors, immediately cut him off, and they just talk. I mean, what are they even doing? They're like, oh, he's speaking right now. Yeah, we know that. Why don't you go to it? But they cut him off immediately. And of course, if he was endorsing Kamala Harris, I don't think they're cutting him off. I think they probably give him all of his time. They show everything. They show the full rally, da 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 da. But no, because he endorses Trump, they've got to cut him off 2 minutes into his speech, and he just calls out the Democratic Party and even Jill Stein. I mean, you've got RFK Jr., who was a Democrat turned independent. You've got Jill Stein, Green Party, doesn't like either of them, Republican or Democrat. She's even said this is such a charade. It's everyone coming together against these people and this evil regime that is trying to ban people from ballots. They did it. I mean, they did it during the primary with RFK Jr. and other people within the Democratic Party to rig it for Biden, make sure there were no challengers. And then they're so dumb, they realize Biden's basically a corpse and he can barely talk. And we saw the debate and they had to sub him out, and they don't care. I mean, they obviously, when it comes to like the primary process, when it comes to actually letting your own party, the people choose, they don't care at all. They know their people are just robots who will follow them aimlessly into a pit. And now all the robots they've got the Kamala Harris chip installed into their brain. And so it's got to be Kamala Harris because Trump is big, bad, and evil. Even though if Trump was this horrible person, why is RFK Jr., a former Democrat, part of the Kennedy family, Democrats, why would he be endorsing Trump? Why would Jill Stein come out and say those horrible things about the Democrats? We've got independent people. We've got Elon Musk, who was a liberal 4 years ago, and Democrats loved him. And now all of a sudden he's turned because of the ridiculous censorship that was happening on the internet when liberals controlled everything. And of course, they did manipulate the 2020 election. That is admitted that they manipulated the 2020 election by silencing the big October surprise. There was one October surprise. Remember, don't let them get you into a shouting match. Do you think the election was rigged? Well, it was manipulated by big tech. It was manipulated, and it's provable. I mean, they silenced the one October surprise. They said it was misinformation, disinformation, and then we learn months later, oh wait, no, it wasn't. The laptop was real. We're sorry. We just called it misinformation and disinformation from Russia 3 days before the election. We didn't want to benefit Biden. That was just our mistake. We're sorry. So that is election manipulation. And that's why Trump, and they all say, well, Trump wanted to overturn the election. Well, they manipulated it. And I'm not saying Trump was right with all the, the states and the fake electors and all that, but they make it really dramatic. Why don't you make the stuff that was done dramatic? which is manipulating the election through the use of big tech and the huge October surprise that everyone normally makes a big deal about. The big October surprise, what is it? An election decided by 40,000 votes. That's a huge, huge thing, but it's all about Trump and the fake electors, and they don't focus. And it's like Trump, he was justified to question the election because they manipulated it through the use of big tech. It's admitted. I mean, we can see it. We can see them silencing the story on Facebook. They silenced it anytime you posted it. It didn't go anywhere. What was it? Shadow banned? I think they shadow banned it on Facebook. So all of that happened, and so everyone's coming together against this just censorship. And even Elon Musk now, who was a hardline lib 4 years ago, is shifted and said, I have to support Trump. And they've made Elon out to be this racist because anyone that doesn't agree with them is racist. Same thing with RFK Jr. because of what happened, his stance with the pandemic and everything like that. They couldn't support him. He tried talking to Kamala Harris. He tried, he's like, let's be adults about this. And she acts like a fourth grade girl and doesn't give him the time of day. That's pretty typical from them. This is the ultimate communist regime. You've got to do whatever they say. And if you don't do it exactly, you're not part of the club. So this is what they want. And we know Kamala Harris has said she wants equity, not equality, equity. It's very important. I mean, she's quoted as saying that. So this is some crazy stuff. And a lot of these Dem pollsters, they're admitting it now. Their top internal people are saying, no, these are all pretty much wrong. You look at the issues like immigration. The only thing Trump loses on is abortion. It's immigration. It's the economy. It's inflation. It's trusting in terms of who do you trust more in a wartime scenario, who's going to keep us safe. The Ukraine issue, Trump is better on, according to the general public. Every major issue outside of the abortion issue, Trump is beating Harris. But then he loses all these polls by 6-7 points. You've got Canadian pollsters coming out like, what? And then they get added to the aggregate with these models, and it's like, oh, she's got a 4% chance, a 4-point lead. It's all crap. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.